Hello everyone, myself Zintu Thakuria. I am a faculty of history at Pragjyotispur University, Guwahati, Assam. I welcome you all to the module 15 of your MOOC on heritage tourism. Dear learners, this module is titled as Legal and Institutional Frameworks. The module has been divided into two units. Unit 1 is on the ASI, UNESCO and other national policies, while Unit 2 deals with the Protection Acts and Guidelines. In this lecture, we will discuss various aspects of the Archaeological Survey of India, the UNESCO, and other national policies in initiating legal and institutional frameworks for the protection of diverse tangible and intangible heritages. Before we delve into the role of the ASI, the UNESCO, and other national policies on heritage protection, let us briefly discuss the concept of heritage protection frameworks. As we all know, heritage is the collective legacy of human achievements that are embodied within the cultural, historical, architectural, and natural assets. Broadly, heritage represents tangible properties like monuments, archaeological remains, and other historic landscapes, and intangible expressions such as rituals, crafts, music, language, and traditional knowledge. The preservation and management of these heritages are foundational to our cultural identity, education, sustainability, and heritage tourism as a whole. In order to protect these treasures for present and future generations, there are certain norms at the global, national, and local levels. These norms, operated at different levels, are basically the legal and institutional frameworks that are instrumental for heritage preservation. So, in simple terms, a heritage protection framework refers to the legal, institutional, administrative, and policy practices which are formulated to identify, protect, preserve, manage, and promote heritages. As mentioned earlier, these frameworks can broadly be divided into three different levels. First, international frameworks, which include international treaties and conventions. Second, national frameworks that include national laws and regulations, and thirdly, local frameworks which include local governance and community practices in order to heritage protection. These frameworks are aimed at the protection of cultural and natural heritages from various threats such as neglect and improper handling, urbanization, environmental issues, illicit trade, vandalism, unregulated tourism, etc. These also ensure balance between the developmental needs and preservation obligations. Dear learners, let us now delve into the legal and institutional dimensions of the Archaeological Survey of India, commonly known as the ASI. The ASI is the central institution responsible for protecting India's archaeological and built heritage. Therefore, to understand heritage tourism in India, it is essential to understand the origin, evolution, organizational structure, functions, and the role of the ASI as the custodian of the nation's past. The ASI not only preserves monuments, but also it legally regulates how heritage is conserved, used, and presented to the public. The Archaeological Survey of India was formally established in 1861 amid a surge in colonial era scholarly fascination with India's ancient heritage. This interest intensified following the decipherment of the Brahmi script by James Prinsep in 1837. It unlocked invaluable epigraphic records from Ashoka's edicts and fueled the demands for systematic study of the monuments, temples, stupas, and inscriptions across the subcontinent. Before the formation of the ASI, the preservation efforts in India were irregular and unplanned. These were largely initiated by individual British officials or local rulers who significantly lacked scientific rigor. The appointment of Alexander Cunningham as the Archaeological Surveyor in 1861 paved the way for methodical fieldwork in India's archaeology. Cunningham pioneered extensive surveys by mapping over 1,000 sites, meticulous documentation of ruins, architectural analysis, and epigraphic decipherment. Thus, Alexander Cunningham laid the foundation of scientific archaeological study in India. However, financial cutbacks halted the initial survey by 1865, but its revival in 1871 under renewed government patronage solidified it as a permanent institution, profoundly shaping India's heritage conservation. In its formative years, the Archaeological Survey of India prioritized exploration, epigraphic surveys, and documentation of ancient sites, inscriptions, and architectures. However, rampant deterioration of the monuments from neglect, vandalism, and colonial exploitation prompted a paradigm shift toward active conservation. This evolution culminated in the Ancient Monuments Preservation Act of 1904. It was a landmark legislation which granted the government sweeping powers to declare sites as protected monuments, prohibit unauthorized excavations, regulate repairs, and impose penalties for violations. Thus, the institutionalization of heritage safeguarding started in India under the ASI. The early 20th century heralded a transformative era under Director General John Marshall, whose visionary leadership professionalized the ASI. Marshall restructured it into a permanent hierarchical department with trained exhibitors, conservators, and photographers, and also emphasizing scientific methods like stratigraphic digging. His tenure unveiled epochal discoveries, notably the Indus Valley civilization, through excavations at Harappa in 1921 and Mohenjo-daro in 1922 by teams led by Dairam Sahani and Rakhaldas Banerjee respectively. In post-independent India, archaeology was enshrined as a union list subject under the constitution, reorienting the ASI toward nation-building narratives of cultural continuity. The Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1958 streamlined protections, mandating central oversight, site notifications, and restricted zones. It remains India's cornerstone heritage law, later amended in 2010 for enhanced enforcement amid urbanization threats. Dear learners, let us now understand the organizational structure of the ASI. The ASI operates under the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, led by a Director General. The ASI adopts a centralized framework to uphold consistent standards and legal adherence. Implementation occurs through a decentralized network of regional circles, excavation branches, and specialized units nationwide, allowing tailored oversight of monuments and sites amid varied terrains and cultures. A diverse team of experts bolsters the ASI, encompassing archaeologists, conservation architects, engineers, chemists, epigraphists, historians, draftsmen, and administrators. Archaeologists lead surveys and digs, while architects and engineers handle structural upkeep. Chemists apply scientific techniques for material preservation. Epigraphists decode inscriptions, and art historians unpack cultural and artistic value. The ASI also maintains dedicated branches for excavation, conservation science, epigraphy, art, archaeology, museums, publications, and documentations. Capacity building happens via the Institute of Archaeology, which delivers training in archaeological techniques and heritage preservation. This integrated, tiered structure equips the ASI to holistically address heritage needs, managing research, conservation, legal duties, and public engagement. The Archaeological Survey of India further organizes its operation through various regional circles or zonal offices to enable efficient administration and tailored conservation efforts. Each circle manages centrally protected monuments and archaeological sites within its geographical area. Adapting national heritage policies to local historical and socio-cultural contexts, these regional branches play a key role in protecting our local heritages. As core operational units of the ASI, the regional circles handle conservation and restoration, routine maintenance, site security, documentation, excavations, and enforcement of laws. These also collaborate with state governments, local bodies, and communities to promote sustainable management and public engagement. To manage the expensive responsibility, the ASI is divided into 37 circles and one mini circle. These circles serve as regional hubs for field operations, combining centralized policy direction with decentralized execution tailored to local challenges and tourism management. Currently, the ASI has 7 excavation branches that are at Nagpur, Delhi, Patna, Bhubaneswar, Vadodara, Mysuru, and a prehistory branch at Nagpur. These branches coordinate and support systematic archaeological exploration and scientific investigations. They are complemented by other specialized departments including epigraphy, science, horticulture, building, survey project, temple survey projects, museums, and an underwater archaeology wing, which together enable multidisciplinary research as well as conservation and documentation of artifacts and sites. Its key zonal offices include, but not limited to, major zones such as Agra, Aurangabad, CRL Ajanta, Chandigarh, Chennai, Delhi, Jaipur, Mysuru, Patna, Vadodara, Agra, Mumbai, Dehradun, Indore, Bhubaneswar, Thrissur, Hyderabad, Dharwad, Kolkata, Lucknow, Guwahati, Srinagar, Raipur, Sarnath, etc. These zonal offices are responsible for protecting diverse archaeological and cultural landmarks. Dear learners, currently there are about 3,679 centrally protected monuments and sites under the ASI. These monuments and sites represent India's cultural and historical continuity from prehistoric rock shelters and megalithic burial sites to stupas, temples, mosques, forts, palaces, bridges, inscriptions, water structures, and excavated urban centers. These sites embody architectural, artistic, and technological achievements across millennia. Now, let us discuss briefly on the key roles, function, and heritage protection mandate of the Archaeological Survey of India. As mentioned, the Archaeological Survey of India functions as the central authority for archaeological research, conservation, and heritage protection in India. It acts as the statutory custodian of India's material past. One of its foremost responsibilities is archaeological exploration and excavation. Through this, the ASI identifies, investigates, and documents sites ranging from prehistoric settlements, early historic urban centers, and medieval monuments. Through systematic excavations, the ASI has played a crucial role in restructuring India's cultural sequence and understanding long-term patterns of settlement, society and culture, technology and material life, governance, etc. Another important role of the ASI is the conservation and preservation of monuments and archaeological sites of national importance. Conservation work undertaken by the ASI includes structural stabilization, stone and brick repair, chemical preservation, removal of vegetation and biological growth, pollution mitigation, drainage improvement, and environmental management. These interventions are carried out using scientific methods and conservation ethics aimed at preserving the original fabric, form, and authenticity of monuments. Landscape developments and horticultural planning around protected sites further contribute to safeguarding monuments from environmental and human-induced threats while enhancing their historical setting. Beyond physical preservation, the ASI performs extensive documentation, research, and public outreach functions. It prepares measured drawings, photographic documentation, site condition reports, and excavation publications that form part of national archival records and academic scholarship. The ASI also manages site museums and archaeological museums, which display artifacts recovered from excavations and provide interpretive narratives for visitors. Through guidebooks, exhibitions, annual reports, and scholarly publications such as Indian Archaeology, a Review, the ASI contributes significantly to heritage education and public awareness. As the custodian of India's archaeological heritage, the ASI's mandate extends to safeguarding the historical authenticity and cultural significance of monuments. This custodial responsibility involves balancing conservation with public access, particularly at high tourism sites such as the Taj Mahal, Qutub Minar, Hampi, Sanchi, and Ajanta Ellora. Visitor management strategies, control access, regulated pathways, and interpretive infrastructure are employed to minimize physical stress on monuments while allowing meaningful public engagement. At the same time, the ASI addresses challenges such as encroachment, illegal construction, vandalism, pollution, groundwater fluctuation, and climate-related deterioration, often in coordination with local authorities and other government agencies. Legally, the ASI derives its authority from the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958, the Antiquities and Art Treasurer Act of 1972 further empowers the ASI to regulate the registration, movement and export of antiquities, preventing illicit trafficking and loss of cultural property. Under this legal frameworks, the ASI protects over 3,600 monuments as mentioned previously and archaeological sites of national importance. This encompasses prehistoric sites, Buddhist stupas, temples, mosques, forts, palaces, colonial structures, inscriptions, water systems, and historic urban remains. Many of these are also recognized as UNESCO's World Heritage Sites. Dear learners, let us now discuss on the UNESCO and the Global Heritage Protection Framework. In the contemporary world, heritage protection transcends national boundaries. The cultural and natural heritage are considered as a shared legacy of humanity that crosses political borders. This global paradigm is institutionalized through international bodies, with the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, commonly known as the UNESCO, at its forefront. Within legal and institutional frameworks for heritage protection, the UNESCO establishes international norms, standards and cooperative mechanisms for identifying, safeguarding and promoting heritage of global significance. Unlike the national entities like the Archaeological Survey of India, which handle site-level conservation and enforcement domestically, the UNESCO fosters state-to-state collaboration, disseminates best practices and designates sites and traditions embodying understanding universal value known as OUV. For students of heritage tourism, archaeology, conservation and cultural governance, grasping the UNESCO's role is crucial as it frames the global ecosystem in which national policies, including India's Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1958, must align. The UNESCO emerged in 1945 amid the devastation of World War II, which destroyed over 1,000 cultural sites across Europe alone. Its constitution, ratified by 20 founding members on November 4, 1946 in London, declares, since wars begin in the minds of man, it is in the minds of the man that the defenses of peace must be constructed. This philosophy positioned culture, education and science as a bulwark against conflicts and initial priorities on post-war reconstruction, literacy drives, and scientific exchanges. By the 1950s, heritage gained prominence through emergency campaigns. Dear learners, let us now briefly discuss on the World Heritage Convention of 1972. This convention is the cornerstone of the UNESCO's heritage mandate. It was adopted on November 16, 1972 in Paris by the 17th UNESCO General Conference. The convention aimed at the protection of the world cultural and natural heritage, and it was come into force in 1975 with Mexico as the first state party, ratified by 194 states. As of 2025, it has inscribed 1,223 sites, 962 of which is cultural and 231 is natural and 40 are mixed, spanning every continent and representing 95% of the countries. Dear learners, the convention is based on some important ideas. Its first key principle is outstanding universal value known as OUV. According to it, a place can be included in the World Heritage List only if it is special and important for all humanity, not just one country. It must meet at least one of 10 cultural and natural criteria. Second principle is the responsibility of states with international support. Each country remains the owner of its heritage sites, but it must take steps to protect them. At the same time, countries help one another through international cooperation. Financial and technical support is provided through the World Heritage Fund. Third important principle of the convention is care for future generations. The convention emphasizes that heritage should be protected not only for today, but also for future generations. What we inherit, we must pass on safely to those who come after us. Another important principle is to link conservation with development. Protecting heritage should go hand in hand with meeting people's social and economic needs. The convention encourages development that does not harm heritage, supporting ideas similar to today's goals of sustainable cities and climate protection. Dear learners, now That we understand what the World Heritage Convention is and why it is important, let us move to an equally important question. Who manages this system and how does it actually function? The UNESCO has created a strong institutional framework to ensure that heritage sites across the world are properly identified, protected, monitored, and supported. This framework involves several key bodies, each with a specific role. At the top of the World Heritage System is the World Heritage Committee. The committee is made up of 20 member countries, officially known as the state parties. These members are elected for a limited period, and care is taken to ensure regional balance so that all parts of the world are represented fairly. India, for example, served on this committee between 2011 and 2015. The committee meets once every year. These meetings usually take place in Paris, but sometimes a member country hosts the session. During these meetings, some of the most important decisions related to global heritage are taken. The World Heritage Committee has several major responsibilities, such as it decides which new sites are added to the World Heritage List. It reviews the condition of existing sites. It places sites under threat on the World Heritage Endangered List. It can remove a site if it loses its heritage value. It provides financial assistance from the World Heritage Fund. Secondly, the advisory bodies. The World Heritage Committee does not work alone. It depends heavily on expert advice provided by 3 specialized international organizations called advisory bodies. These bodies help ensure that decisions are based on professional knowledge and scientific assessment. These bodies are ICOMOS, whose full form is the International Council on Monuments and Sites. Second one is IUCN, whose full form is the International Union for Conservation of Nature. And the third body is ICCROM, which provides training and capacity building programs. The third important organization of the World Heritage Convention is the World Heritage Center, which acts as the administrative heart of the system. Established in 1992 and located in Paris, it functions as the secretariat of the World Heritage Convention. Its responsibilities include receiving nomination proposals from countries, coordinating evaluation with advisory bodies, publishing reports on the condition of the heritage sites, managing international assistance and emergency support, acting as a communication link between the UNESCO, governments, and experts. In simple terms, the World Heritage Center ensures that the entire system runs in an organized and transparent manner. Dear learners, now let us briefly discuss the operational guidelines of the UNESCO that transform principles into action. To ensure that all countries follow the same procedures, the UNESCO has developed operational guidelines. These guidelines explain how a site should be nominated, what documents must be submitted, how authenticity and integrity should be maintained, how sites should be monitored over time. They also address modern challenges such as climate change, natural disasters, over-tourism, communication, participation, etc. For tourism, the guidelines encourage limits on visitor numbers, buffer zones around heritage sites, interpretation centers for education, reinvestment of tourism income into conservation. The goal is basically to balance heritage protection with development. Dear learners, we should note that the UNESCO's work is not limited to monuments and natural landscapes. Its functions also include protection of intangible heritage, cultural diversity, etc. In this regard, the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention of 2003 is very important. This convention aimed at protecting the living traditions such as dances, festivals, rituals, and oral traditions. The focus here is on keeping traditions alive and meaningful for communities. The second important convention is the Convention Against Illicit Trafficking of 1970. This convention fights the illegal trade of cultural objects, helping countries recover stolen artifacts and prevent smuggling. Another important convention is the Convention on Cultural Diversity of 2005. This supports cultural expressions, local creativity, and cultural industries in a globalized world. Together, these instruments show that the UNESCO views heritage in a broad and inclusive way. Dear learners, India joined the World Heritage Convention in 1977 and has played an active role ever since. Currently, India has over 40 World Heritage Sites, including the Taj Mahal, Hampi, Humayun's Tomb, Dholavira, Kaziranga National Park. The UNESCO's recognition has helped India in improving conservation standards, strengthen heritage laws, attract funding and expertise, promote sustainable tourism, etc. Institutions like the Archaeological Survey of India work closely with UNESCO in managing these sites. In India, UNESCO and the Archaeological Survey of India work together in a complementary manner. Dear learners, let us now briefly discuss about the other national frameworks and policies for heritage protection in India. While the Archaeological Survey of India plays a central role in protecting monuments of national importance, heritage protection in India is supported by a much wider network of laws, policies, missions, and institutions. India's cultural heritage is extremely diverse and spread across different regions, communities, and landscapes. Therefore, a single organization cannot manage it alone. To address this reality, India has developed a multi-layered heritage protection system that works alongside the ASI. The system covers not only centrally protected monuments but also state-level sites, private heritage buildings, antiquities, cultural landscapes, and living traditions. Together, these frameworks help deal with modern challenges such as rapid urbanization, climate change, tourism pressure, and illegal trafficking of cultural objects while fulfilling the constitutional responsibility of safeguarding national heritage. Among the other bodies who work for heritage management in India are the National Monuments Authority, which is a statutory body and which is responsible for regulating development activities around protected monuments. The authority examines proposals for construction within regulated zones and prepares site-specific heritage bylaws. These bylaws clearly define building height limits, land use patterns, visitor movement, and conservation norms. Importantly, the authority follows a consultative approach by inviting public opinions before finalizing decisions. In recent years, efforts have been made to balance heritage conservation with infrastructure development, particularly for public projects such as roads, metros, and bridges, while ensuring minimal impact on monuments. In 2014, India adopted its first national policy for the conservation of ancient monuments, archaeological sites, and remains. This policy marked a major shift in conservation thinking by emphasizing minimum intervention and respect for the original materials and techniques used in monuments. It encourages the use of traditional building methods, regular conservation audits, and the involvement of skilled craftspeople. The policy also promotes public participation, recognizing that heritage conservation is more effective when local communities are involved and informed. The National Mission on Monuments and Antiquities, launched in 2007, further strengthened India's heritage protection framework by focusing on documentation and digitization. This mission aims to create a comprehensive national database of monuments and antiquities, particularly those not protected by the ASI. In addition to government bodies, institutions such as the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, or INTAKE, play an important supporting role. The INTAKE focuses mainly on non-ASI heritage, including historic buildings, cultural landscape, and urban heritage. It undertakes restoration projects, conducts heritage awareness programs, and actively campaigns against the destruction of historic structures. Through heritage works, school programs, and community initiatives, the INTAKE helps bring people closer to their cultural past. The state archaeology departments also play a vital role in India's heritage protection system. Each state is responsible for managing and conserving monuments under its jurisdiction. These departments conduct surveys, excavations, and conservation work at the regional level. In states like Assam, for example, state authorities project Ahom era monuments and religious institutions such as the Satras in Majuli, Assam, while the ASI focuses on monuments of national importance. This division of responsibility ensures that heritage protection reaches both national and local levels. In the recent years, policy bodies such as the Niti Aayog have proposed reforms to make heritage management more effective and financially sustainable. These recommendations include improving the administrative structure of heritage institutions, increasing the use of tourism revenue for conservation, expanding digital heritage database, and encouraging public-private partnership. The goal is to ensure that heritage sites are not only preserved but also contribute meaningfully to local and national development. Despite these extensive frameworks, challenges remain. Encroachment, limited funding, climate-related damages, and over-tourism continue to threaten many heritage sites. To address these issues, India is increasingly focusing on digitization, legal reforms, judicial oversights, and community involvement. These measures aim to create a balanced approach where development needs are met without compromising heritage values. Dear learners, in conclusion, it may be noticed that heritage protection in India extends far beyond the Archaeological Survey of India through a combination of laws, policies, missions, institutions, and community initiatives, India has developed a comprehensive and layered system of heritage governance. Thank you.